Head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason with a guy defending Baker Mayfield.
Hello, Dave. This is Ernie from Virginia. I talked to you guys a few weeks ago. I'm the 70-year-old lifelong Cleveland fan. Can't wait to see Cleveland finally go to a Super Bowl before I die. Just listening to this back and forth about Baker Mayfield, I think you really need to give it a rest. You've rehashed it multiple times. Number one, we really don't know what Baker Mayfield is because, especially in this last year, I mean, he did not have an offensive line that he could depend on because his offensive tackles were in and out all the time. Secondly, he didn't have the receivers to throw it to. You talk about his pre-snap decisions. Well, it's hard to make a pre-snap decision if you don't know that you can trust your tackles. So, I mean, there was a multitude of other things. Yeah, he didn't have a great year. Sure, he had a bad shoulder and all that kind of stuff. But give him a chance. Put some pieces in place that he can depend on, including his offensive line and his receivers. And then, you know, Stefanski's going to call a different game too because he's going to know that he's got players that he can depend on.
All right, as always, appreciate the voicemail. And there's truth to what he said, Jeff, but the question is, and we talked about it a little before, if you're in year 5 and you don't know what a guy is, it's a little bit of a problem.
I think it tells you that he's an inconsistent player. If you haven't figured it out, you know, I thought Baker looked phenomenal, and I call him the Magnificent Eight. The 8 games when Freddie Kitchens was his offensive coordinator. I thought he looked great. He was really good. And then the next year when Freddie was head coach, not so much. First year under Kevin Stefanski, I thought Baker played really well and looked good. The team went to the playoffs. They looked terrific. This year he's beat up. If we're going to use that as the reason that he was not very good this year, okay, then they shouldn't have played him. So, I mean, that muddies things up completely. I just think at that position, if you have an option that you think is better, you should go for it. And because so many teams have as of late. And if they think that Baker is okay, then great, bring him back next year. And I hope he's outstanding. But we can't sit here and say, well, this and that and this and that. Nick Chubb was running behind that offensive line that was all beat up, and he did pretty well. So maybe the offensive line wasn't as bad as everybody thought. I didn't think the wide receivers were very good, but I also don't think the quarterback did a good job of getting the ball to the wide receivers. So I mean, it's all tied together, and I don't think the play calling was as effective, I guess is the best way to put it, as it was the year before. And I'm not crazy about the way Kevin called a game this last year. How can you be? The offense didn't put up points. You know, let's just look at the bottom line. If you call the plays and they work, you're a great play caller. And if they don't work, well, maybe you're calling the right plays and your team didn't execute. But then you've got to call the plays that your team can execute. It's so convoluted and tied together, Dave. That's why I think this year was such a waste for the Browns when it came to that evaluation on Baker, because it's muddier now than it was before the start of the season.